Hill in the gun with Hill to his right. Play action to the right. Steps up, throws over the middle. He's got Thornton. Caught it! Junior Thornton. Split. 6. Touchdown. Midway.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB, your bank for life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
Hill, right side, finds a seam. Hill, 20. Hill, 10. Hill, touchdown. Midway, no flags. Midway takes the lead by more than one score. And how about the Big Uglies inside?
Now, here's David Smoke.
And here we are again, yet another Texas high school football season, over 100 years. And think about this, the players, the coaches, the tradition, the atmosphere, the fans, the drill team or pep squad, the cheerleaders, the stadium history. And I don't know if any state has as much commitment, and surely not financially, that the state of Texas has for high school football. The stadiums are amazing. I'll never forget the story. J.J. Watt, when he was drafted by the Houston Texans, we had him for an interview. And as he was flying into the city of Houston, he was in a plane. He was on his way into Houston. He looked around and saw this stadium. He goes, "What college is that?" And these were high school stadiums. And that's the commitment of Texas high school football as we now start the journey of who wins a state championship. And we'll have a couple of graphics for you early on about all-time state championships and teams that won last year and where they are in that list, or where they want to be, of course, which is at the top. One of the great things about Texas high school football is how everybody, that morning of a game, the morning of a game where the coffee shops or the stores or wherever, the restaurants are abuzz, they're just buzzing with whoever's playing whoever. You know, even like, is this young man, is he ready? Is the quarterback being replaced? Or is somebody better? And then, of course, just the history of some of the rivalries in the state of Texas as well. So each week, we will bring you some historical moments or perspective. We will also have the elite games of that particular week, including this week, a big chunk of games, some involving state champions against each other. And then also we'll have interviews with coaches or players or fans or media, history of the game that we try to bring you on the Texas High School Football Podcast, including, of course, our sponsors of PetersCars.com, Peters Chevrolet and Randy Peters. We appreciate them so much. Bubba's 33, Nathan Watkins and Philip Dunn, we appreciate their support. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance with Mike Garrick and also Carl Ellis and what they mean to us. And TFNB, your bank for life. And thanks to Jason Lavender for their support. And then also want to give you a nice little shout out to Jerry Forrest at pigskinprep.com. He's amazing at what he does with his site. And there are others that have the historical perspective of the state of Texas and high school football. So we're going to put some graphics up on the screen. This is the one we start with, and we'll try to do this every week just to kind of look at history. All-time, not wins, but the all-time winning percentage. West Orange Stark has won over 80% of their games in their history. Now, it's not one of the longest running schools. There's other schools that have played twice as many years, but West Orange Stark just over 80%. Number 2, not a surprise if you look at these names, South Lake Carroll. Number 3, Westlake, they just won their 4th overall state championship, 3rd in a row. Todd Dodge, he's now retired. Tony Salazar's taken over. Highland Park, right there at the top at number 4 in the top 5, along with Odessa Permian High School, who Midway will play, by the way, this year in week number 2 at Ratliff Stadium in Odessa. My alma mater, not that you care, but I want to throw it in there, the Rohawks, one of the great unique nicknames, mascots at Universal City at Randolph Air Force Base, ranked 43rd all-time when it comes to winning percentage. Now, how many teams have been to the playoffs in most consecutive years? Refugio is at 44. You see them right there tied with Judson. 44 consecutive years Refugio has been in the state playoffs. That's amazing. There's always going to be some sort of a gap in talent or coaching change or maybe injuries that affect, or maybe a district that's stacked that affects this streak. 44 consecutive years for Refugio, and Judson had their streak ended last year of 44 consecutive playoff appearances. State titles. Alito at the top, the only one with double digits with 10. Katy, 9, 15 state championship appearances. At 8, you have Carthage. We'll have Scott Surratt, their head coach, on next week. Kevin Hoffman and Mart, along with the history of all the other coaches in Mart at 8, along with South Lake Carroll. Teams that have won 7 state titles include Abilene, Brownwood, Plano. It's been a while for them, but they, of course, set the tone many, many years ago. Now, of last year's state champions, who are among the top when it comes to all-time state titles? Stephenville won last year. Of course, they won 4 under Art Biles, and they won again last year with Sterling Doty. They have 6. North Shore, what John Kay has done at North Shore High School, those classic games against Duncanville and others, they've already won 5, and it's been recently. I mean, they are as good as anybody with their recent history. Westlake, Shiner, and Stratford High School all have 4 overall state titles, and all of them won their 4th last year. So, the all-time most consecutive state championships, and I saw them a couple of times. In fact, their 5th consecutive state title was against Midway, Lake Travis, and what that great program has done. Hank Carter, of course, he's gotten 1 or 2 himself. And Hank Carter, of course, a great coach at Lake Travis. And I think this year you're going to see them very much be a part of that state championship opportunity and push. When we come back, we're going to hear from a coach that won a state championship, longtime Lorena head football coach Ray Biles, next on the Texas High School Football Podcast Show and Smoaky.com.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB Your Bank for Life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
Welcome back to the Smoaky.com and 365 Sports High School Football Weekly Podcast, the statewide podcast, and we start with one of my favorite people, Ray Biles, who when I moved to Waco in the summer of 2010, the first practice I attended was Lorena. And I mean, it was old school. I mean, they were getting at each other. And in year 31 now, Ray Biles and Lorena coming off a state championship. Ray, it's great to have you, an honor to have you on this opening show for the 2022 season. Do you feel like you've got a large bullseye on your back right now?
Oh, no, really haven't thought much about that. We're just trying to do what we can do to improve every day right now, David. I mean, I'm sure there's some motivation for people to play well against us, and that's fine. But I don't think they need a whole lot of it. We're just trying to get better each day.
Well, obviously, last year was an incredible journey. That page has turned. We'll go back to that in a little bit. But you open up, as you did a year ago, with another team that won the state championship in China Spring, and Tyler Beatty, the first-year head coach there. When you played them a year ago, did you think that could end up being 2 teams that won it all?
Well, I knew that there were 2 pretty good football teams. You could see that from the film and from our game and everything else. I mean, I just thought, they're a fine football team, and if we can hang with them, we're going to be all right during the course of the year. You never know how it's all going to turn out or how things are going to develop or who's going to get hurt or what's going to happen. But I felt pretty good. I probably, for an 0-2 coach at that time after losses to Franklin and China Spring, I felt confident in our kids and our program and our where we were at that time. Yeah,
there was no question. You knew both of them would be good, and you also, of course, were going to be good. Why, how would you say, what would you define Lorena when it comes to football? What is so-called the mission statement or slogan or whatever you would say?
Well, the number one thing we talk to our kids about all the time is it's not about you. It's about us and what we are. And check your ego in at the door and let's go to work when you get in here and we'll see how it all pans out. But the other thing is we talk to our kids an awful lot about just control what you can control every day. I mean, there's certain things we have no control over China Spring. We may have control over our effort and our attitude and our aggressiveness and everything else that we take in the ball game, but it's a fine football team, and we're going to have to play well. So we need to control what we can control and see how it all pans out. So, there are a few things in there that we just hammer on the kids every day about, and hopefully it sinks in. Hopefully that leadership and that chemistry will take over in that locker room, and we'll get it done.
Football has changed so much over the years, how long you can practice, pads, helmets, contact, concussions, all of this stuff that football now has dealt with, and really for a long time, but it's just so much more now prevalent in the discussion. And you're an old school guy. That doesn't mean you're old. That means you have those values that I appreciate. How have you changed as a coach with all the way the rules have changed as well?
Well, you have to evolve as the game evolves. Smoky, or you quit, get out of it. I mean, you have to learn how to make it happen and how the kids can make it happen. And we do. I call myself sometimes a dinosaurus. If you don't, you become extinct in this whole deal. Rules have changed. Big one this year about the no cutting down the field. You can't chop anybody outside down the field, which, the Armies, the Navies, the Air Forces, those schools in the collegiate level that depend on that, it's going to be a stretch for them. And also for schools like us, a lot of our second level blocking and on the perimeter and trying to get outside was we may put a smaller guy on a bigger guy, and the only way we could level the field was, so we've had to change the way we do things during the course of the season. I was an I guy from Katy High School, so we ran that for years, and then we evolved into a spread, and obviously it's been very, very good.
Does old school mean old?
Not really. I mean, I think there's certain standards that you always are going to hold and grasp, and we're not going to let go. There's certain things that you are in your program that I think you're going to have to be consistent with, and the kids understand that's a standard. That's the way it is. But there are other things that, does it really matter? You have to adjust as you go. Kids are different now, honestly. I've been in it 2 seasons now. So, once upon a time, you just tell them what to do, and they run through the wall for you. Now, it's a little bit different. It's just a whole different scheme of things. But you know what, Dave? The great thing about it is kids are still kids. You love them, you hang on to them, the relationships you build with them, you talk to them. They still have problems, and stuff goes on in their life, just like in my life, in your life, and everything else. And so, part of it is just how do we help those young men become men? And so it's a process, but it's one that we, grasp and we enjoy, or we would be we do as coaches.
One of your players, Jaden Porter, the wide receiver who was committed to Baylor, I remember you were having a scrimmage with Conley. And I walked up to you. You were back at the back end, I think, of the defense, wherever it was. I know it was at Conley. And you mentioned him to me. Not that you didn't mention other players as well, but you mentioned how special he can be. And obviously he is. What kind of young man is he, and how has he handled some of the attention he's received?
Well, Jaden is an extremely talented young man. He can make an awful lot of things happen on both sides of the football for us. And it is, when you're that age and you have that much attention and national prime time, he's already committed to Baylor University, and he's excited about that. I think he's taking everything in stride. He understands. He's still got 2 years left at Lorena. We're excited about that.
I know.
He's for 2 more seasons. So that's good news for Biles and the Lorena Leopards. But Jaden's one of those kids that he's still working on his game every day he comes out. And it's good for our younger players and maybe some of our lesser players to see one of our better players work that kind of ethic and get after it the way he does. So it's a very positive thing.
Last year and every year, at the end of the year, I have like an all Smoaky.com. My website has an all East and Central Texas high school football team. Jaden was a part of it, but you had others as well. You had the great running backs. And then also Joe Gutschall, your defensive lineman. I mean, he was so dominant. What's his offseason been like, and how has he been so far in August?
Joe's done a great job for us, and we had to sit down in a discussion with him because he's another young man that has the opportunity to go play on Saturdays at some point in time, and he's going to have to take advantage of the opportunity he has. We're excited about him. He's going to be playing some offense for us this year. He's a pretty nice sized tight end. Does a lot of good things from that spot. So, but again, he's another one that's worked hard, especially in the weight room, to try to get prepared for this season. And hopefully we're going to have a good one with him as well.
Braylon,
very talented young man. Very talented. Oh, my gosh. He can run for a big team.
Braylon Henry, there's a historical note there with John, the great running back in the late 80s when Lorena won state title. And then, of course, he was a linebacker who played for you very, very early. Is he a guy that can play both sides of the ball for you this year?
He could, but right now we're going to keep him over on the defensive side of the ball. He's got a little bit of an injury that I just don't think at running back that's the greatest thing for him at this point in time in his career. But he will be playing. We had a young man last year, Drew Britton, that played a hybrid safety / outside backer for us and did a tremendous job for us last year on defense. And that's where Braylon is going to take that spot this year. A safety / outside wheel backer, overhang guy, and he'll be making most of the calls on defense. And extremely intelligent young man, football savvy. Some of them you coach up, and some of them you just come out there and let them go do what they do. And Braylon's one of those guys. He's a heck of a football player.
Your district, I don't need to remind you of this because it was really good last year as well, but Franklin, Lorena, Yo Academy, and I know Yo last year was down a little bit, but they'll be back. You know that. Academy, Rockdale's got their history and lineage, and Troy and McGregor, obviously right there, real close to you as well. Is this the best 3A district in Texas?
Let me just say it's the best one I've ever been in, without a doubt. We played Franklin in non-district the last 4, 5, 6 years, and so we understand Franklin. We understand how physical they are. We understand how well they're coached. And his guys do it. As you mentioned, our district has state champions in the last 10 years out of 3 times at Kent, Rockdale, Franklin, Lorena. An awful lot of history and an awful lot of good football coaches and good football teams. So it's going to be, there are no gimmies. There's nothing in it easy at all about this district. They're very talented and a lot of good skill kids. I mean, really make big plays.
Ray, winning a state championship is something there's teams that win it every year. There are some that have won, like Alito's won 10. And I went over a list earlier in the show, others who have won 8 or 7 or whatever. And Lorena had won before. But as a head coach, and I don't think there's no question in my mind it doesn't change you, but it sure can help maybe bring some sort of sigh of relief and maybe not even complete you as a coach. But how much does that state title with your name as the head coach mean to you?
Well, personally, I think that's one of the things that every head coach dreams of. The reality of it is for all the guys that ever get that by their name, there are a lot of great coaches that never have one. So I don't take that lightly. I don't take that for granted. Last year with the tremendous team, outstanding coaches. And that's the other thing I would say. They have great surrounding people that support personnel and players and kids that can do that. Make those kind of things happen. So I was blessed, and we'd like to go out and hunt another one down. Someone asked me about, are y'all defending it? I said, no, that one's ours. Nobody's going to come take that one away from us. But there's a new one out there right now. We're tracking it down, and we're hunting it down just like everybody else in the state.
Does China Spring change with Brian Bell no longer there and Tyler Beatty taking over?
Well, we'll see. But what we've seen on the film so far, two scrimmages that we got on them, very similar to what they do. Defensively, they're not going to be changing much at all. They're tremendous in speed, size. I think they're better right now at this point in time. Offense, they've got some tremendous weapons on offense as well. It's going to be a fight Friday night.
They have the transfer quarterback that came in from Wimberley, who's very, very talented. But are you kind of excited you don't have to try to track down Major Bowden?
Well, that rascal could disappear in a hurry now. You would think you had him contained, and all of a sudden he breaks it, and he's 25, 30 yards down the sideline and making people miss. So, yeah, we're not going to – I'm thrilled he's at Lamar University, and we'll let somebody else worry about him now.
So how do you handle the night before? 3+ decades of doing this, and as his assistant coach at Katy, is it different the night before the first game?
I think it is. It's always, I tell guys a lot, whenever I lose that jitter, that, and even when you're confident about everything, there's still that internal clock that's going off. It's like, okay. And, it's sometimes Fridays last 72 hours. I mean, it's like, we get 7:30. So when I think that is gone, it's a good indicator for me. It's time to hang it up and go do something else. But right now, the excitement of the competition, the way you can go about, what you got to do. I mean, we're excited. I'm looking forward to it. And I think if I ever get to that point where I got to go do something else.
Hey, Ray, thank you. Congratulations on last year. Start setting the tone for this year. Great matchup with China Spring to open up the season. 2 state title holders and defending champions. Thanks for your time, and always appreciate what you do.
Thank you, David. Appreciate you and all you do for high school ball here in Texas.
All right, we both love it. Ray Biles, head coach at defending state champion Lorena. The Texas High School Football Weekly Podcast continues in a moment on 365 Sports.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB, your bank for life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
Salado head football coach Tom Westerberg on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports and the statewide high school football podcast. Tom, thanks for your time. You have been in coaching for a long, long time. What is it like for you that eve before the first game or even that first week before the first game? Has it changed over the years?
No, not at all. You make me feel old. You said a long, long, long time, though. Yeah, no, it doesn't change. Just the excitement of, seeing if you got the kids ready. What they can handle the first game. That's probably the most important part, and the things you've learned over the years is to keep it pretty simple in that first game.
Is the most progress made from after you play the first real game to the second one?
I'm going to say probably after you play the first 2 or 3. I think. I think those early games you make some pretty big strides and finally get to find out what your team is and who your team is and what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are.
You, of course, have coached at Allen, Barbers Hill. You had just taken the job at Hayes as well, and you've been around other. In fact, Cameron's where you kind of got everything started as a junior high coach. What made this job at Salado so enticing for you?
I went to high school here.
Yep.
My wife was born and raised here. My parents lived here for 40 years, and this was going to be our retirement spot, and have tried to get it multiple times over the years of my career, and for whatever reason, it didn't work out. I was pretty young a couple of times, and so this is always a place that I've wanted to coach at, and I just so happened to open up, and I tried the straight AD stuff, and don't know if that was quite for me. So I jumped on the opportunity to come back home.
Did not coaching give you the I don't know if it's the EBGBs, but was it hard?
I think it was good that I didn't. I was able to. My dad was in an assisted living in Georgetown. I was able to spend a lot of time with him before before he passed in December, and but it also let me know that, going to the games on Friday night and just watching them and not having anything to do with them and the outcome and all that kind of that's not really what I decided that I wanted to be on. So I like having a stake in the game on Friday night. So that's what kind of sent me back.
How much do you think about him? You think that first game against Fredericksburg?
Oh, it's going to be fun. My parents have both passed and have since passed, and they'll be watching. They'll be excited. They've wanted me to come back here and coach for a long time, and now I'll have that opportunity.
Alan Hare did a really good job there, and obviously they ran that offense that was so unique, and some can just perfect it, and they were very close to that. That's the complete opposite, basically, of what you've done in your career with the spread offense, with who you've had. How have the young men taken to what you're doing?
I think they've taken pretty well. They like spreading the ball around. They like the way we practice. It's a lot different. And so we're night and day different. And, I've known Alan for a long time, and they did a great job. And now we're just trying to take it a step further, is what we're trying to do. But we're going to spread the ball out and get it in the air a little bit.
That we're in a society, and it doesn't mean it wasn't like this 25 or 30 years ago, where you see college coaches who are successful, and yet they still have that almost that itch. A lot of them, not all of them, but want to go can do it in the NFL. You were at as successful a program as there could ever be, and you've kind of gone to lower classifications. Why?
The jump from Allen to Barbers Hill. We had set the bar out there a pretty high way, and it was just wanting to do something different, and jumped on the opportunity. Barbers Hill pays really, really, really well, and we were able to go down there, and I took over a team that ran the wishbone, and so we went down and spread it out, and got the program back to going, and won a district championship, and went to the third round for the first time in like 25, 30 years. And so had an opportunity to do that, and then went to Hayes as the athletic director. That was different. It's a big, huge school district that had never had an athletic department or an athletic director. And so started that one, and then just the opportunity for this one. This one was, I wouldn't have taken any 4A job across the state. It was going to be, we had a townhome in Salado that we were able to land at. So that we remodeled about 4 years ago, and so we had a place to land, and we were excited about it.
My last ever high school football game was, of course, I'm old, at 63, was in November of 1976. I played at Universal City Randolph under the great Bob Mickler, but our last game was against Hayes Consolidated when the Rebels had started to really, really, really get to be very, very good, and they ran the veer, and I was as dizzy that night as a defensive end as I could ever imagine.
Yep, we ran the veer in high school, and I was at Salado, so that was the era back then.
Yeah, Bob Shelton was the coach, in fact, at Hayes, back when it was just the one school as well. Has coaching, in your opinion, changed over the years?
I don't know. I think the kids still want to be coached, and they're excited and eager to learn. The offenses have changed drastically, and it was probably for the first time in a long time, the trend kind of started in high school with the spread, and then worked its way up the system. I think it worked its way up to college, and then all the way up to the NFL. I mean, I think the spread went for the first time up the other way, and so that's a whole lot different in coaching. Usually everything trickles down. But and now there's not everybody running the spread. It's a little more. It's pretty varied on what everybody's doing. So it's I think it's in a good time.
Well, one of the reasons that college and then pros also changed because successful, great players like Kyler Murray, who you had the opportunity to coach when he ran off those 3 state championships as your quarterback and what you guys did at Allen. Did you ever think at the time that he could play in the NFL?
I knew he was pretty good, and I knew that pretty much whatever he sets his mind to, he's going to be able to accomplish it. He's kind of a perfectionist in practice, and just like at OU, he was playing baseball, and his first year, for the first time in 2 years, he's playing at OU and has a hard time hitting curveballs at the college level, and then spends a summer up in the Cape Cod League hitting curveballs, and then comes back and bats whatever, 3-something, and gets drafted 9th in the overall. And so that's who he is, and so I would never tell him he couldn't play in it. So that's what everybody thinks, and so he's a good one.
You won 4 state titles, 3 in a row. Which one was the best one, or the one you remember the most? Is it always the first one?
The first one was pretty fun because that was the one that for the first time for the football in Allen was the first state championship, and kind of got over. We'd been to the semifinals a couple of times, and finally broke through and won it. Won the semifinal game that year, and then went on and won the state championship. And I told the kids, they would always be the first, and that's a very close knit group of kids, and they still are real close. And that one was pretty fun, but I wouldn't take away from the 12, the 13, the 14, either, none of them. The 13 team was probably the best overall team, with the number of kids that are still playing in the NFL is crazy.
You also had a guy on your staff named Terry Gamble, who's a great friend of mine, and of course he's gotten out of the coaching business. He was at Midway, did a great job. Do you guys share much information or talk much anymore?
We do. We talk. We talk every once in a while, but no, we're still good friends, and at some point in time, going to get together and play some golf. And he's playing a lot of golf right now. I don't know if I want to play with him. So that's the hard part. I used to be able to beat him, but I don't know anymore.
Hey, Tom, congratulations on what you've done, and I know you'll have success at Salado, opening game with Fredericksburg. Tom Westerberg, head coach at Salado, with us, 365 Sports and the Texas High School Football Statewide Podcast.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB, your bank for life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
Welcome back to Smoaky.com's Texas High School Football Weekly Podcast. And thanks to our guest today, and we do this again next week. 17 weeks, if you think about it. There are 11 weeks during the regular season, the 6 playoff weekends, including the state championship the week before Christmas, and we'll be here every week to bring you the flavor of Texas high school football. And we have a pick'em contest that we'll do that's on my website, Smoaky.com, and you can go in. It's set up where you pick 30 games this week, 30 of them this week, and some weeks it might be 20. It's just going to depend on the elite games, and we'll get to the graphic in a second. But you can go to Smoaky.com, look for the high school pick'em link. It'll be on the homepage somewhere, and then you can go in, click. It's easy. Boom, 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 all the way down, And then at the end, you put your name, your email, and even your mailing address. The winners each week will receive a $25 gift card from our great friends at Bubba's 33 location in Waco on I-35, and also a Bubba's 33 in Longview, and another one coming to East Texas very soon. So that's, again, get on, make your picks, put your name at the bottom and email address, and also your mailing address, because if you win, $25 gift card to Bubba's 33. Here are the games. And this is how we set this up. This is from my great friend Jerry Forrest at pigskinprep.com. We're not going to dissect every game because we can't right now. But here are the first 10 games. And these are the 10 games. If you look to the right, the number to your right, the lower the number, the more elite the game is based on Jerry's index from Class 6A all the way down to the schools, of course, the private schools, TAPS, and much more. Aledo and Parish Episcopal. Last year, Parish Episcopal won the state championship, and their only loss was to Austin LBJ, and we know how explosive they were on offense last year. Aledo, all-time greatest 10 state championships, and Parish Episcopal. What a way to start it off. And then, of course, a battle in Dallas. Duncanville and South Oak Cliff. Duncanville's been knocking on that door with Reggie Samples year after year, and South Oak Cliff did it. They won the state championship last year. What a great start that game will be. We've already featured the game with China Spring and Lorena, at least from Ray Biles' perspective, both defending champions last year. China Spring won that game, 21-13. The fourth game on the list, Chapel Hill. Jeff Reardon against Gilmer. Gilmer lost to China Spring in the state championship game. Chapel Hill made an unbelievable run last year. They started the year out pretty tough. Kind of rocky start, and then they got red hot behind sophomore quarterback Demetrius Brisbane and everybody else. And they lost to LBJ. They were as good as anybody at the end of the year, but just not quite there. And they've won a couple of state championships in their history. Chapel Hill against Gilmer. We know the lineage of what Gilmer does. Also, a private school game, Live Oak and Covenant. Live Oak won a state championship. There's College Station with a new coach this year, and Lovejoy, an explosive team with what they do. There's Pleasant Grove. Last year, Coach Gibson does a great job. Last year, they were 9-6. That's kind of a wild record, like an NFL record. They had a really tough start last year to their season. They were 1-4. They lost twice to Gilmer. That 9-6, very deceiving. They are always a part of the conversation, and they will play Brock. Also, May and Jayton in a six-man game. Westbrook and Happy, six-man football. Westbrook won it all last year. Happy lost in the semifinals 54-20 to them. And also Rankin and Balmorhea. Also, here are other games. The Kilgore-Carthage game, a heck of a game in East Texas. Carthage last year, what was it like for Scott Surratt to have an offseason without a state championship? His quarterback, Connor Cuff, sometimes last year just young. I have heard some great things about him, and colleges are starting to take note of him coming into this year. There's El Campo and their dynamic running back. The Louisville commit and Reuben Owens against Cuero. There's Jim Nett and Howley. Here's an intriguing game in Class 2A, Timpson and Beckville. Timpson lost that game a year ago, 42-21. I won that game, beat Beckville 42-21, and they have a rematch. How about Malakoff, Jamie Driscoll, and Wes Russ, the quarterback in Mata? He is really good. And that's a tremendous game in Class 3A. Glen Rose and Grandview, they've played quite a bit. Of course, they're next to each other, and they should. Garden City, Turkey Valley, and six-man. There's Lone Star and Texas High. The Tigers, Jerry Sanford, the head coach there. Munster and Bells, La Vega and Kennedale. Don Hyde, La Vega, how good they have been. Kennedale also really, really good. Don Hyde and La Vega last year were 9-4. Then there's the Westlake game against Ridge Point. Westlake with new head coach Tony Salazar replacing the Hall of Famer in Todd Dodge. Down a couple of notches, Dangerfield and Gladewater. One of my most historic moments of covering high school football in 1984 in December, when Dangerfield had just won a state title the year before, that single season, that team that was incredible. In 83, never lost, gave up 8 points over 16 games, stupid stuff, 14 shutouts, 13 in a row. At Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium, back then it was just Rose Stadium, and I think they've changed the name again to a health system that's different name. They played in 1984. they had a tie. The game was decided on tiebreakers. Danny Mitchell at Dangerfield at the time blocked an extra point by Gladewater, who had come back from 2 touchdowns down, blocked the extra point. Dangerfield advanced and went on to then lose to Medina Valley in a shocking loss in the state championship. That game was at Old Floyd Casey Stadium in Waco. But that Gladewater-Dangerfield game, no matter how many times they've played, that's the one I'll always remember. Also, Argyle, Melissa, heck of a game. Boy, Melissa's done a great job recently, 11-3. We know the history of Argyle. There's Childress and Abernathy. Stephenville coming off that state championship last year against Heritage. And they beat Heritage last year in district, I think it was 38-27. There's Lake Travis and Hank Carter and his team. Got a really good feeling about them. Of course, they're in the district with Westlake, and that's a crazy good district. And then there's Cal Allen at 10-2 and Gregory Portland, who's a favorite there by, you see the numbers on the left. There's a black number with Jerry's picks, then the ranking of the team on the left of each team, and then to the side there's an overall number. The lower the number, the better the game, based on Jerry Forrest and pigskinprep.com and his index. Coming up next, we wrap it up. Week 1 of the Texas high school football season on 365 Sports.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears!
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB, your bank for life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
Wrapping it up. It's not really wrapping it up. We're about to start it all up. But every week we'll be here with the 365 Sports Texas High School Football Podcast. I started a website back in the summer of 2002, Smoaky.com, thanks to a guy that was working with me, Daffyd Morgan. Daffyd, he was incredible when it comes to understanding, I guess, the age of the internet, websites, and things like that. And I had been on this website that was about the Marshall football team. They did a really good job of the district that was East Texas back then, Longview, Marshall, Lee, which is now Legacy, John Tyler, which is now Tyler High, Lufkin, Texas High. It was a great website, a message board, and I was always on there, and I was answering questions. And he said, you could do your own. And then I did. And 20 years later, here we are with Smoaky.com. It's a message board. It's got historical information for over 200 schools out of East Texas. And then we added, when I moved to Waco in 2010, a bunch of teams around here. So I think it's like around 240 or 50 schools overall, and it's constantly trying to feed the animal. I think the win-loss records of schools from way back, individual records, all of that, it's just something that I love. And Craig Smoke does a great job of also tidying things up and putting in historical information with me, and we appreciate our great sponsors of that website and of this show. And so here we are, yet another year. The 2022 football season is here. Can't wait. Now we have evidence. We have stats. We have wins and losses and rankings that might change. And some of the same teams, like in college football, might win yet another overall championship, but we're about to find out. There'll be Cinderella stories. There'll be human interest stories. There'll be teams that overcome something that's happened within that school district. And, of course, It's just part of who we are and what we try to bring you every single week on this show. I've also, next week, we're going to add a segment that will be a part of the opening segment where on my website, Smoaky.com, in the forum section, You can ask a question or give me something you would like to know more about, and I'll try to answer those to you the following week, whether it's about covering or about a memory or about something you like to know about a specific team, maybe your favorite team. For Jacob Wilson and Jack McKenzie, for our amazing sponsors, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB Bank, your bank for life, TFNB, your bank for life, thanks to Bubba's 33. And don't forget to get on that Pick'em link and pick your games this week, and we'll have a winner to announce next week. And then, of course, also Randy Peters at Peters Chevrolet, PetersCars.com. I'm David Smoke. Thank you. Have a great week, and the high school football season is here.
Battle in the gun with Hill to his right. Play action to the right. Steps up, throws over the middle. He's got Thornton. Caught it! Junior Thornton. Split. 6. Touchdown. Midway.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB, your bank for life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
Hill, right side, finds a seam. Hill, 20. Hill, 10. Hill, touchdown. Midway, no flags. Midway takes the lead by more than one score. And how about the Big Uglies inside?